Every personality test you have ever taken measured one thing: the cage you built around yourself. The results feel like truth, like a fixed map of your inner world, explaining why you are the way you are. But the science on whether that map is permanent is a war zone, with brilliant minds on both sides of the trenches. One camp argues your core personality is set like plaster by early adulthood. The other insists it remains plastic until the day you die. Where do you stand? By the end of this, you might change your mind. The argument for a fixed self is comforting. It's based on decades of research into what psychologists call the Big Five traits: openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. Studies that follow people for years, even decades, find these scores are remarkably stable, especially after age 30. If you were highly introverted at 25, you are likely to be highly introverted at 55. This perspective offers a kind of liberation through acceptance. You stop trying to be someone you are not, you learn your own operating system. You pick a career, a partner, and a lifestyle that fits your nature, rather than fighting against it. It's a strategy for authenticity. An introvert who accepts their nature can stop feeling guilty for leaving a party early. They can build a life with deep one-on-one connections instead of feeling pressure to work a room. They can find a leadership style based on listening and preparation. This knowledge is a tool for self-compassion. That sounds like wisdom, a recipe for a peaceful, authentic life. But there is a trap hidden inside that comfort. What if knowing yourself is just an excuse for staying put? What if the stability those long-term studies found is just a measurement of inertia? The person who has the same job, the same friends, and the same daily routine for 30 years is going to have a stable personality. Their environment is a perfect feedback loop, demanding the same behaviors and reinforcing the same identity day after day. The cage is comfortable, the food shows up on time, the view is predictable. You might call it stability, or you could call it stagnation. This opens the door to the other side of the debate, the idea that identity is a verb. From this perspective, yourself is not a thing you have, it is a thing you do. Each action you take is a small vote for the type of person you wish to become. You are not a healthy person. You are a person who consistently chooses the salad, takes the stairs, and gets 8 hours of sleep. The identity is a trailing indicator of your behavior. Neuroscientists support this with evidence of brain plasticity. The brain is constantly reorganizing itself based on experience. When you practice a new skill, you physically change your brain. When you adopt a new habit, you carve new pathways. Imagine someone who tells themselves, "I am terrible with money." It is part of their identity. They expect to be in debt. Then, they start a single new behavior. They track every dollar they spend using an app. For 90 days, at the end of 3 months, they look at their bank account. They have a surplus. They have a small cushion of savings. Now, what happens to the story? Is the identity "I am terrible with money" still true? The behavior came first. The identity followed. It's an incredibly empowering idea, the promise of total reinvention. And yet, if it were that simple, why do so many of our New Year's resolutions fail by February? If identity is just a collection of actions, why do so many people feel so profoundly stuck? We try to act as if. We go to the gym for a week. We start the side hustle. We try to be more outgoing at a party. But it feels draining. It feels fake, and sooner or later, we snap back to our old selves, exhausted. The aspiring writer finds themselves scrolling social media. The person trying to quit a bad habit finds themselves back at square one, filled with shame. The purely behavioral approach has a blind spot. It often underestimates the power of the world around us. The truth is more complicated than either side admits. The debate between a fixed self and a fluid self misses the most important piece of the puzzle: the environment. Your personality is a function of the system you live in. The stability the psychologists measured is real. The brain's capacity for change is also real. The environment is what decides which of these truths gets expressed. Think of it as an operating system. Your genetic predispositions are the hardware. Your daily actions are the software you run. But the environment is the operating system that determines which programs are easy to run and which ones crash every time you open them. You can try to run a new confidence program, but if your operating system, your job, your relationships, your daily inputs is optimized for anxiety and self-doubt, that program is going to fail. You are fighting your personality. You are fighting your environment. You have lived this. You have watched a friend move to a new city and come back 6 months later, almost a different person. They talk differently. They laugh at different things. They have new ambitions. What changed? Their environment. In their new city, no one had any expectations of who they were. They were free to run new behavioral experiments. Maybe they were always shy, but in a new place, they decided to try being the person who strikes up a conversation with strangers. The social cost of failure was zero. If they made a fool of themselves, no one knew their history. They were just a person at a coffee shop. Back home, their friends and family had a fixed story about them. Oh, he's the quiet one. And without realizing it, he played the part. The people around you are the most powerful part of your environment. They are a living mirror, reflecting back to you the person they expect you to be. It takes a heroic amount of energy to project a different image than the one they are holding up. This leads to the core tension at the heart of this entire debate. It is a conflict between authenticity and agency. The fixed self-camp champions authenticity. Be true to your nature. The fluid self-camp champions agency. You have the power to choose who you become. But what if being true to your nature just means being true to your old habits? And what if exercising agency, the act of becoming someone new, feels deeply inauthentic at first? It does. The first time you go to the gym, you do not feel like a gym person. You feel like an imposter. The first time you speak up in a meeting, you do not feel like a leader. You feel like you are pretending. This feeling is a clue. It shows the gap between your current identity and your desired one. The question is how you interpret that feeling. Do you see it as a sign to retreat to the comfort of your old self? Or do you see it as the friction of growth, the necessary discomfort of carving a new identity into the world, one action at a time? Perhaps the most authentic act is the deliberate choice to become someone better, even if it feels fake in the moment. The self you inherited from your past is real, but the self you are building toward is also real. You are living in the messy space between them. Researchers are beginning to understand this. The idea that personality is plastered in at age 30 has been revised. More recent, longer-term studies show that personality does continue to change throughout the lifespan. It just happens very, very slowly. A trait like conscientiousness tends to increase as people get older. Neuroticism tends to decrease. Why? Because life demands it. Raising a family, holding a demanding job, managing a mortgage, these things require you to be more organized and less emotionally volatile. Your environment, the very structure of adult life, pulls for those changes. You adapt. Over decades, the votes add up. The shift is so gradual you barely notice it. One day, you find an old journal from your 20s and you can barely recognize the anxious, chaotic person who wrote it. The handwriting is yours, the author is a stranger, so the cage of your identity is real. But it is not made of steel. It is made of your own routines. It is built from the job you drive to, every day, the people you eat lunch with, the algorithm that curates your social media feed, and the expectations of your loved ones. Each of these is a single thread. Alone, they are weak. But woven together over years, they form the fabric of a life that makes it very easy to be the person you were yesterday, and very hard to be someone new tomorrow. You did not consciously design this cage. You assembled it piece by piece, with every choice you made, the major you chose in college, the first job you took, the city you settled in. Each decision seemed logical at the time. Each one narrowed the path, and now you find yourself here. The way out is subtle. It does not involve a dramatic escape. There is no dynamite, no final showdown. The way out is to start building a new enclosure, right next to the old one. You do it by changing one input, just one. You start listening to a podcast on a subject you know nothing about on your commute. You join a hiking club on Saturdays, even if you think of yourself as an indoor person. You take one online course in a skill your current job does not require. You are planting seeds in a different garden. You are casting a few, small votes for a future self. At first, nothing seems to happen. 99% of your life is still in the old cage. But you keep tending to that 1%. You keep casting those votes, and over time, the new space starts to grow. The new identity starts to feel less like a costume and more like your own skin. So, look at the life you have built around yourself. The job, the city, the people you speak with every week, the information you consume. Are they a greenhouse for the person you want to become? Or are they a museum for the person you used to be? Where in your life have you traded growth for comfort? What story about yourself have you repeated so often that you've mistaken it